some significant momentum behind that legislation. The governor's in the middle of an election campaign. We all are. So these are difficult times for him to make statements that might go against sort of the tide, if you will, the public opinion right now. So, if you read the PD this last weekend, they felt that anybody who was against Common Core was basically a Neanderthal and totally confused and misunderstood the issue, etc. So him and his people are reading those kinds of editorials. So he's probably trying to keep his head low to a point, which is kind of standard political fodder. But where's he going to be on this new bill? I don't know. And it's not going to really get serious consideration probably till after the election. But some of the statements he made suggest that he might support it. Now, even if he doesn't support it, if we can get it through the legislature, while he still might not sign it, he might very well let it become law. Because if a bill sits on the governor's desk for 10 days, it simply becomes law automatically without the governor's signature. And that's something that might be considered as well. I hope that answers your question.
If you do run into the governor, you do need to let him know that there are people who are interested in repealing Common Core. Because he made that statement that he wasn't aware of anybody that wanted to repeal Common Core.
Yeah, he did say that.
Very recently, last week.
Right.
Would you like a petition?
Okay. Yes, sir.
My name is Dave Jettis. I'm from Leroy Township. I'm a neighbor of Ron here. And it's an honor that I can address such a panel of intellectuals. It really is. But one thing I want you to know, I am mad as hell. I am mad because here they have a new addition to the Constitution of the United States. And I would hope somebody would have enough courage to call a Speaker of the House and other people who put this new edition out. And the foreword was written by Henry Hyde. And he says, we got to stay with the times in the 21st century, and we are now a constitutional democracy. And that burns me up more than a forest fire. So that's one thing I'm mad about, and I wish somebody would have enough courage to call, give me a phone number of the Speaker of the House or whoever rewrote the new edition of the U.S. Constitution. And the other thing that makes me madder than Hades is, I wish this is addressed to Ron Young here. I think we should, one of the most dangerous things we have, the most dangerous things of liberty is the Constitutional Convention. And I think it should be rescinded. And I would hope that some of you people and everybody here would encourage your state senators, your governor, and representatives to rescind the Constitutional Convention. That is more dangerous than communism. Thank you.
Okay. Gentleman in the back there.
My name is Larry Weeks. I worked for quite a few years with John O'Donnell's wife, Nancy Picker. Tell her Larry said hi. Hello, Larry. I am very, very, very curious why there is no D or R against the judges. That makes absolutely no sense. It's there for the politicians, and the politicians hide from it because they don't put D or R on a lot of their posters, lawn posters. But why can't the judges say, I stand for this and I stand for that? I'll never understand that.
Good to see you, Larry. Long time. There's a code of judicial conduct that is written that applies to judges and judicial candidates. And Chuck and I had this discussion about a month and a half ago when I was over at his house. If a judge takes a position on an issue, there's two things that will happen. One, he or she will be facing ethics charges for violating the Code of Judicial Conduct, because we are prohibited from taking a position on something that can come before the court. Because what happens is if I take a position on X and if I escape ethics charges, and X comes before the court, then I'm prohibited from hearing it. I have to recuse myself. So if I'm out there, or another judge or judge candidate's out there taking a position on certain issues, they can't hear them when they come before the court. So that gets back to your original question, why is there no designation? It's a nonpartisan for that very reason. The theory, and I think it's a good one, is that politics can't enter into it. Okay, now occasionally when I'm going door to door, I'll get a question. Are you a Republican or are you a Democrat? And I will indicate to that person that judicial elections are nonpartisan, and I give the explanation as to why they are nonpartisan. Now, sometimes, most times people will accept that and understand that, because once it's explained, I think people understand that. But if they insist on asking beyond that what I am, I tell them that I'm a Republican. I don't know whether they're a Democrat or Republican when they're asking that, but if they insist on it, I ask it. Now, there's one interesting aspect to that. If they were not nonpartisan and a person wanted to know what I was, I mean, one thing I occasionally ask is, look, if I get elected judge, or when I get elected judge, you come before me on either a civil case or a criminal case, do you want me to ask you whether you were a Republican or a Democrat before I make a ruling on your case? And I don't think anybody out there would want that. So that's the reason they're nonpartisan, for ethical standards and then for practical standards, because if you take a position on something, you're prohibited from hearing that case. So I hope that kind of explains it to you, Larry.
Can you say conservative versus liberal?
You can say that, sure, you can say that. I'm perfectly free in advertising in any judicial candidate a Republican or a Democrat, but the reason that those are nonpartisan races are to try to keep political views out of it, because these folks spend a lot of time crafting legislation, and the judges are supposed to follow what the law is, okay, not what they want the law to be. Not like the federal judge who kind of changes the election law every 2 years. After these guys work hard to come up with something, that judge, that federal judge determines, well, these guys have no idea what they're doing, so I'm going to do what I want to do. So it's a matter of following the law, and so that's why the nonpartisan nature of the judicial races are as they are.
I just want to address the second part of your question about the other political candidates who could put Republican or Democrat on their signs and choose not to. For me personally, it's not a matter of trying to hide from the party. It comes down to demographics of the county. We're pretty much split half and half, Republican and Democrat. And if I were to have Republican all over everything, there are a lot of Democrats who wouldn't even bother talking to me or willing to hear anything about me whatsoever. It's also part of the reason that I decided to have my own tent at the festivals and fair and everything, because, and again, there was, Republican was not displayed on there. And it allowed me the opportunity, when curious Democrats and independents came around to see what I was about, to actually have a conversation with them. Because I could get the vote of every single Republican in Lake County, and I could lose, because we need to be able to relate to independents and even some Democrats. And I'll tell you what, there are a lot of people who are mad at my opponent, and I have a lot of Democrats telling me that they're going to support me because of that. So I'm lucky in that respect. But there are others that just are open-minded and want to know what's going on. But if I had Republican on my signs, they might not be quite so open-minded to come talk to me. So that's why I don't have the party affiliation on my signs.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is for Kim. Sorry to make you stand up and down and up. I was just wanted to ask about your experience, in business management areas. Your job as a county commissioner, certainly a lot of management in that type of area.
Right. For those who don't know, the commissioner's role is basically the elected administrator of the county, so having a business administrative background is very important. They are also in charge of all real estate transactions for the county, so having experience with real estate is also important. As you indicated, I do have over 10 years of experience in business administration, starting out as just administrative assistant. That's how you first get in. Then I was promoted to executive assistant. I also have experience as an office manager. So office managers, for anybody who